Letting Facebook do its thing. And we are live in Helping the World Sleep Better. Hello, everybody in our community. Emma Woolrich here, and we welcome back the fantastic Sveti Williams. Thank you for coming back again, Sveti.
Hello.
And for everybody who has met Sveti before, obviously you know what to expect. Some fantastic hints and tips that are practical. You can apply them immediately or tomorrow if it's really close to your bedtime. And also for people who are new to our community, if you're watching this afterwards, then just pop below #replay. And if you do have any questions, then tag Sveti and myself so that we don't miss any of your questions. The group is really quite interactive, and the last thing we want to do is miss a question, especially if it's on something that Sveti can answer and it's in her niche of expertise. So for those of you who have joined us recently, we are growing daily. I just wanted to give you a bit of an idea of the sort of expertise that we're joined by tonight through Sveti. We're very privileged to have Sveti with us. She's an author, an official delegate of World Sleep Day, a member of Australasian Sleep Association. She's a leading sleep advocate who helps patients to target sleep disruptors and replace them with sleep-enhancing behaviours. She works at the Princess Alexandra Hospital in Australia, a sleep disorders centre as a polysomnographer, assisting and diagnosing patients with a variety of sleep and breathing disorders. And because that's not enough, she is also a kinesiologist, a counsellor, and a complementary alternative medicine practitioner. She engages with unconscious psychology to identify and resolve the root causes of insomnia and other symptoms of people's physical and emotional struggles. So you really are receiving a holistic response to everything associated with sleep today. Her work draws on complementary medicine, and her teaching covers both scientific and spiritual, proving a holistic approach to sleep health. Welcome back, Sveti.
Hello, nice to be back.
And if anyone watching, if you haven't guessed the topic of tonight, it's going to be all about food types and what foods can help us and what foods can maybe hinder us from achieving that beautiful sleep routine. So Sveti, as part of your repertoire of expertise around sleep, I mean, how often when you talk to your clients, how often is food and what they're eating one of the primary reasons that they're experiencing sleep issues?
Well, I ask every single person what's their diet like. It's a part of the basically when they take an intake form. Before I even see them, I send them a form and they need to fill out the form. So I always have a diet in there. I need to know what their diet like, and I need to know what they're lacking, and I need to know what they can add to sleep better. So it's always one of the most essential things I ask them about. It's important.
That's great. And it makes so much sense, right? Because what you're putting into your body is how your body's having to digest it and how it's helping your functions in your body. So it makes so much sense. But I suppose people who are experiencing insomnia or they're waking up many times a night, it's not one of the immediate things that they would go to.
Yeah, exactly. People sometimes underestimate the diet, but once they understand how much it can do for us, they change the diet and then they begin to sleep better. Even their health improves as well.
Well, gosh, yeah, double whammy benefit.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So where do you start, Sveti? Where do you start either eliminating or asking people to, maybe eat something earlier in the day or avoid it completely? Where are your oh my gosh, eliminate this from your diet? Or
yeah. First of all, I'm looking at stimulants. What stimulants are they actually ingesting? Either it could be drinks, it could be a lot of sugar, because sugar is a stimulant. So if they're eating desserts after dinner, that and they complain of bad sleep, obviously they need to eliminate the sugar in the afternoon. But I prefer if they don't have any sugar, you know, as the healthier the person is, the better they might sleep. So it's not always the case, but sometimes it's just that way to go forward with them. Also, I look at foods that they're eating that can produce a lot of histamine in the body. So this is why when people take antihistamine tablets, they tend to sleep better that night. So having a diet, and if they are, let's say if they're intolerant to dairy and they don't know it, because sometimes it doesn't come up in the test, so that could create a lot of histamine in the body. And if they do have a lot of histamine, they won't sleep. Their sleep won't be good. So I'll look at that as well. We tend to, I suggest that they avoid, we'll look at what foods can create histamine in the body, so we try to avoid those foods and see how they go.
Okay.
And so a lot of people say once they change something they eat or added something they started eating, they always say sleep has changed.
Wow, it's just incredible, isn't it? So why is it that some people are able to tolerate some of this and other people can't? I mean, you mentioned that some people dairy intolerant, but it doesn't come up on tests. So how do you sort of like go through all of that? How does an individual work that out?
It just depends on your individual flora in the gut. But also most adults, they don't tolerate dairy very well. So we don't have those enzymes that children do. But we do well with fermented dairy. Some people don't do well. But when it's fermented, it's more bioavailable. It's more easier to digest for us because it's already pre-digested with bacteria. So we're adding more bacteria. We're feeding our bacteria. So for those who have a lot of dairy, that could cause a lot of histamine in the body.
Okay. We've got somebody watching us now. Hello there, wherever you are in the world. Just let us know where you are, where you're watching from, and if you have any questions for Sveti. As you can see, we're talking about food types and sleep and the relationship between those. So Sveti, when we're talking about bringing foods in, foods that maybe do support a good sleep or a good entry point into sleep, do you have any foods that you would definitely say start trying?
Yes. So I usually always talk to my patients about foods that contain melatonin. And foods that contain natural melatonin, so you can actually prompt your body to make melatonin or basically add melatonin into your body. There's plenty of food that contain natural melatonin, and also foods that contain tryptophan, because tryptophan is precursor for serotonin, and serotonin is precursor for melatonin, and that's the melatonin is what we need to sleep. So we need that. We need food that high in vitamin B6 because that will help us to create melatonin. That it helps in production of melatonin. So we need these foods specifically. We also need foods that contain magnesium because magnesium and potassium are muscle relaxants. So a lot of people who have muscle tension, restless leg syndrome, or a lot of twitching going on, or they're simply just too tight, they can't relax the body, they do really well with magnesium foods, but also that balance magnesium and potassium as well. So all of these foods that I mentioned, melatonin, tryptophan, and magnesium rich, are the foods that I always put emphasis on. And also, when you educate people, they understand why they need to eat these foods, and they tend to kind of think that way as well. When they're choosing the foods, they started to research, they start to look for those foods, they start to buying those foods. So so these are the main foods to have.
So just for the lay person, what are the foods that you go to that are high in B6?
So B6 foods, tuna is really good, high in B6, also high in tryptophan. So we need foods that B6, plenty of foods that rich in B6, meats, dairy foods. But again, if you're intolerant to dairy foods, don't have this, have an alternative, nuts and things like that. There's plenty of foods that are rich in B vitamins. Even some people do really well taking supplements. Try to take supplements if you can. We all for some reason have to take B vitamins. even though we have the food, it's almost like the food is depleted. So we just put emphasis on B6.
Just the B6. Okay, that makes so much sense. And when you talk about the science building blocks, you know, ultimately we're trying to increase the melatonin before bedtime. So in terms of time, you know, the amount of hours before bed when you're eating these food things, does it matter, you know, as long as you're building this up during your daily meal intake, does it matter that maybe you've had your tuna for lunch and you don't have, you know, something for dinner?
It doesn't matter, because we need things like tuna and foods that have protein. We need protein because all of this tryptophan, serotonin, melatonin, they're all parts of protein. They're protein particles. So we need that to build on the melatonin, things like that. So it doesn't matter when you eat, as long as you have enough during the day and you have the ratio, correct ratio. If you're vegan, you make sure you have correct ratio to make that complete protein during the day, and to make sure you get the vitamins. Or if you eat meat, it's easier for us to get those proteins in, including B6, B12, and tryptophan. And turkey has a lot of tryptophan, is classed to be high on tryptophan.
Wow.
So, yeah, and also cherry juice. I love cherry juice. And there was a study done on people who drank cherry juice. They approximately slept about 84 minutes longer than those people who didn't drink cherry juice before bed. So it is because cherries contain melatonin.
I did not know that. How incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. But the number one registered food on the planet that has the most melatonin is pistachio nuts. So if a handful of pistachio nuts. It's okay. Other nuts do. Walnuts, almonds, they all have melatonin. They all have tryptophan. They have things that we require for good night's sleep.
Okay. You mentioned those two foods, and those are two foods that I can't eat because unfortunately I'm a FODMAP friendly person. But I love the fact that we've got other nuts, so we can eat some other things. Yeah.
Well, you can eat lettuce. Lettuce is known to be like a sedative. It gives us like sedation when we eat lettuce. Lettuce is also rich in melatonin as well. So we find in every single diet, there's so many diets right now, or protocols as well, dietary protocols, we can find foods that are rich in, have this as a rule, melatonin rich, tryptophan rich, B6 rich foods, but also magnesium and potassium, and then you won't go wrong. Research foods that fit into your protocol, and you know you're getting enough.
Okay.
But so also, last time we were talking about chamomile. We were talking about tea.
That's right.
I wanted to say that chamomile tea is a mild tranquilizer. So when you drink chamomile tea, you literally tranquilizing yourself. So you relax in your body. Now talking about food, so tea kind of goes with food. So chamomile is the one to have.
I'm loving all of this, how it's all like building blocks together. And look, I'm presuming that this is not like an overnight thing. Your body will naturally start producing more the more it receives in. So this isn't like I've eaten lettuce all day, so I should sleep well tonight. This is going to take some time for the body to catch up, right?
Yeah, well, when people having choices, for example, you feel a bit peckish between dinner and bedtime, what can I have? And when you know this, you are more likely to pick the right foods for yourself. And also, foods like honey, for example, raw honey is known to be a really good, it's like a superfood, it's known to be good for relaxing body. It also has that correct ratio of, I took the notes so I don't get it wrong. So it's actually contains the correct balance, perfect balance of fructose and glucose. So when we have the correct ratio in the body, we don't have too much sugar, but yet natural sugars, the body tends to work right, and the liver especially, because the liver is producing glycogen, and when we have correct amount of fructose and glucose, the liver is satisfied with the amount received during the day, and therefore when it's trying to produce the glycogen, it doesn't wake us up at night feeling hungry, or when it's the incorrect ratio there. So just, you know, put in for those people who are looking to snack, which is fine to snack. Snacking is fine, as long as you don't snack on the wrong foods and create too much histamine, too much inflammation in the body, too much sugar, and you gotta have the balance. And if you put emphasis on these foods that I mentioned, then you're on the right track.
And this sounds as though this would help like shift workers as well, you know, that they're trying to con their body into thinking it's it's nighttime when it's broad daylight.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I work in a hospital. We do night shifts as well. So night shifts are terrible. They're really, really strenuous on the body. And if you give your body that correct foods at the obviously incorrect times, because you're going to do night shift and you can sleep during the day. But if you do the right things, the impact of night shift perhaps won't be as drastic in relation to how your body is resting, how your body is going through, you know, the resting period, and then making sure your body is getting that needed rest.
Yeah, no, I mean, it all makes perfect sense. And when you talk about magnesium, I mean, gosh, we all, know how much our bodies need magnesium. And if you're coupling magnesium-rich foods with a bath with magnesium organic flakes in it, you're sort of like, you've got a double whammy going on there as well. Your body can't overdose on magnesium, can it?
No, you can't overdose on magnesium. It's quite opposite. When I did a research paper for my university, I did on magnesium especially. So I've researched magnesium so much for that paper. So you can never overdose on magnesium. In fact, our body doesn't absorb much magnesium. We need a lot of it. We probably need double to what the recommended dose anyway.
Wow. I know I take one of those big scoops every night. The ultra musclies or something like that in a powder, as well as having baths with the magnesium organic flakes. Yeah. Your body knows when you don't eat, when you skip a day, your body knows. It's like misfiring engine.
Absolutely knows. Yes.
Is there anything else that you want to share with us, Sveti, on foods we should avoid, foods that we could try?
So avoid the foods as stimulants, drinking or eating. Go hard on foods rich in magnesium. Make sure you get foods rich in vitamin B6, tryptophan, melatonin rich foods. All of these foods you can Google online, and just, go within your protocol, add it to your diet, and then you'll be fine. And just make sure you put emphasis on those foods. Yeah.
And cherry juice. Add in cherry juice if you can drink it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But cherry juice is beautiful to drink. I mean, you don't have to drink a huge amount. It's not like those, you're not drinking like an orange juice. You got to have a big glass. You just drink half a glass of cherry juice.
Wow.
So you don't need a huge amount, really.
And the honey, I remember from last time we were talking about tea, and you mentioned about putting raw honey in the tea as well. So we're saying cut out sugar, but introduce something that is going to support you with the building blocks to achieve melatonin, but also supports your body in the balance for the glucose as well.
Substitute sugar, processed sugar, to raw honey. Make sure it's raw honey, so it's not processed, and your body will do the rest. Just give the body what you can in forms of what it needs, and then the body will do the work that it needs. Like biologically, it'll utilize those foods to give you what you need to sleep.
That's amazing. I'm salivating right now thinking that, the whole just before bed could be some nuts, drizzled honey on top, cup of tea, chamomile. It's sort of like, it sounds very bedtimey already.
Yes, I know. It's beautiful. Yeah. And also warming foods that are warm at night, not something that is warm and cozy. So in winter we have soups and warm bread with butter. Obviously have bread that suits you. So yeah, in winter, in summer, we still can have warm cup of tea. We don't have to go everything cold.
Yeah, I just love it. Every week you come back and you just give us so much information, and it's just a plethora of, you know, like information that we've not been exposed to, or you don't find, or you wouldn't link normally to, oh yeah, that could interrupt your sleep, or that could help, you know, break the sleep pattern. So anybody out there, we have got a couple of people watching, anybody out there, if you have anybody in your household who you think, oh, maybe they have got a dietary issue and we don't even know it yet, you know, or maybe, yeah, we'd never even considered that we're eating this food and that might be the thing that's doing it, then Sveti has shared, you know, some of the things that you can try doing. And I'm sure that Sveti would love to know how successful this has been for you. So keep your own little diary, you know, when you introduce something new for a couple of days, and just see how your sleep changes, and let us know in this group. We're absolutely, you know, we really want to see what's working for people in this community. And more importantly, what more do you want to know about? We have all of these experts available to us whilst we're in lockdown. And what we want to do is obviously answer as many questions as we have on any issues that we've got with sleep. So if you do have any questions at all, they don't have to be food and sleep related tonight. If you've got any questions, then please just post in under here, under this post, and tag Sveti and myself, so that we can then, if Sveti can't answer it, if it's outside, I can't believe it would be, but if it's outside of her area of expertise on sleep, then we can find another expert who is that specific niche target. So Sveti, thank you so much for joining us again. And next week is your last week with us so far. It's very sad.
That's all right.
We have Sveti for one more week. So make sure that you post all of your questions so that we can find a really good topic for next week for Sveti to finish with. Okay. Thanks very much, Sveti.
Thank you. Bye.